So what we're looking at today is Universe and More Motion Mapper game. We're looking at set acceleration for velocity versus time graph based on input mode. So over here, we are going to be looking at example number 6, level 6. And what you have to do is you have to set a specific time. What's the acceleration going to be? Again, we can see that there's going to be a little change over here. So at what time is going to be a change in the acceleration? And then we need to set the initial velocity. Now, the easiest one is initial velocity. So initial velocity, you can, because this is a velocity time graph, you can check where does the velocity start from. So at 0 seconds, the velocity is 0 meters per second. If this green line started somewhere like, let's just say above here, around this area, then we would say it started at 5 meters per second. But since it's starting here, initial velocity is 0. Now at time equals 0 seconds, we can see that the line is going down in a linear direction. So over here, our line is going down. So our line kind of looks like this line right here. That is a negative acceleration, okay? So that is a negative acceleration that we have. Now we can calculate, since we have a velocity time graph, okay, we can calculate what the acceleration is based on taking the slope of that line. So we're gonna take the slope of that line. So we're gonna do an example of this. So over here, we're going to take the rise and run of this line. So the run of this line is going to be equal to 1 second. The rise, since it goes downwards, it's going to be a negative rise. So it's going to be -3 because that's where it comes up to. So -3. So slope equals to rise over run. So over here, our rise is -3, our run is 1. So our slope is equal to -3. So that's what our slope is equal to. So over here, we can set our acceleration is equal to -3. Now we can see at the 1 second mark that our line continues in a horizontal line over here. Okay, so it's basically a straight line that we see. So over here, sorry, just give me 1 second. So over here, we have a straight line, okay? And taking the slope of that straight line is going to give us an acceleration of 0. So since it's going to give us an acceleration of 0, over here, we can set that acceleration, just keep it as 0 meters per second squared. Now, we can play this. So, okay, we're good, we're good, we're good. And then notice how the object, it bounces back in the opposite direction, and all of a sudden the velocity is now not negative, it is now positive. So we are doing something wrong. We need to figure out what our initial position is starting from. Right now it's just set as arbitrary as 5 meters, but we don't know what the initial position is starting from. But we do know that this is a velocity time graph. So going back over here, if a velocity time graph is given and we want to work backwards and we want to figure out what is our position, our starting position, we need to take the area underneath the graph. So taking the area underneath the graph over here, sorry, let me just paste it. So taking the area underneath the graph over here, so this basically is like a rectangle, okay? And this section right here is like a triangle. So over here, the rectangle, if we do length times width, our length is from 4 seconds to 1 second, so it's about 3. And our height is about -3, so 3 times 3, which is going to be equal to 9, okay? And over here, this part of the rectangle, or sorry, -9, because it's going at below. Over here, this looks like a triangle, so it's going to be base times height divided by 2. Our base is about 1 second, times our height is -3 divided by 2. So we get approximately -1.5. Now combining these two values, we get -9 plus -1.5. So our object is technically supposed to start around -10.5 meters. So in terms of our motion mapper, we should set our position about 10 and a half